Hello guys. My name, as usual, it's Chikunde Bugara, but you can call me Jimmy. Okay, so let's start. So in C++, we have header files or header libraries, in which the most common one, or the one that we're going to use almost each and every time, well, no, each and every time, is the include namespace, IO stream. Okay. And just a quick disclaimer. Nah. Sometimes I am going to explain something and then you're not going to actually get it. So it will be better or best if you ask me what I meant by that thing. Alright. So we have a library called the IO stream. Alright. Now the IO stream works with things like cin and also cout. Okay, so cin, I'm sorry for the errors. So cin is called a common input. It takes what you as the programmer wants to take from someone who is using your program, or yourself if you're testing a program, and then it stores it in a memory cell. Then that memory cell is going to store that thing, and then you can call out whatsoever that you've placed in your cin anytime throughout the code, right? Now the cout, on the other hand, which is called the common output, is just a way of telling a program to display something in your code or the program, right? So that's the IO stream. Now the second thing that you have is the identifier. It's our standard library actually, which is namespace. Okay, so I'm going to say using namespace of standard library, right? And that's it. So this namespace standard library, it prevents you from writing std, cout or cin whenever you want to initialize some things. Okay, so this is going to be the first things that you're going to have in each and every program that we write. These are the standard things, and they are crucial to make your program run. Without the include IO stream, your program is not going to give outputs, and it's not going to take inputs. And without the namespace std, you may sometimes or someplace make an error where you need to, let's say you need to print out something to the console, but then you forget to initialize the std cout. It's going to give you an error, right? So these two are crucial, very crucial. Then the third thing that we have, which is where our program is going to run, is called the main function, which is an int main. Now functions are denoted in two parenthesis braces, or two brackets. Okay, so whenever you write a function, you're going to denote it. After you write the function's name, you're going to make two curly braces, right? And then after the curly braces, you're going, after the brackets, you're going to wait. Okay, you can unmute actually. Don't be afraid to unmute.
View your, like, zoom your screen. I can't see properly.
Oh, how did I forget? Can you see?
Yeah.
Alright. So after your int main, you put these curly braces, and this is going to be your main function. Everything that you write in this main function is what is going to be printed out in the console. Okay, so now let's talk about variable initializations, or maybe before we go to variable initializations, let me give you an example of a cout. A cout actually. Let's say maybe you want to write your name. You're going to say cout. Then whatsoever that you want to put out in your program, if you're just writing it down and it's not part of the initializations, you're just going to say cout. Then you put the strings, which are double quotation marks, and then you write whatsoever. Let's say my name, Jimmy. Then after each and every line, or after each and every statement, you put the semicolon. Okay, and always, and I mean always, your program should have a return type of 0. Always and always. So the crucial things that your program should have is the include namespace, include IOStream using namespace std, the int main, and the return type, which is a 0, right? So now let's run this program of mine. Yeah. So it's going to output my name right here, which is Jimmy. And to prevent the console from outputting these other things, here you have another standard library component, which is called the end line. And the end line basically just tells the cursor in the console that whatsoever that I've written or whatsoever that you're outputting, please move the cursor below that. Okay, so for example, again, Jimmy is on its own line and it's not appearing as this again, right? So after couting Jimmy, it's going to tell the program, tell the cursor to move to a new line, and the cursor is going to go to a new line and inputs whatsoever that it's inputting. Alright, now another common example, instead of end line, right, let's say I want to put in 2 strings. Jimmy is my name, right? So this is going to print out the same as this one. Okay, but to prevent that from happening, you either put a \n here, n, right? This acts as an end line, just that if you place an end line in between the first string and the second string, it's going to give us an error. So it's best, if you want to print 2 statements from one cout, it's best to use a \n. But if you don't want, or if you don't understand how the \n works inside of another string, you can say that you're putting your \n somewhere else, right here. Right, this is the same as writing a \, here, or maybe here at the beginning of this other statement. And keep in mind that everything that is inside the strings, alright, is printed out. So this space right here, this little space right here, is going to be printed out in my console. For example, wait, let's see. Int main undefined, call it 2. Alright. \n Jimmy is my name, which is here. If you do see that Jimmy \n new line is my name, which is right here, right? When I was editing this video, I realized that I made a mistake. I wrote a statement similarly to this statement right here. Alright, and then I proceeded to run the code with a space selected, and a code cannot run when you select like one part. And I forgot to actually mention, or it gave me an error because I selected a space. Alright, this is what I actually said in that video. It's going to be printed out in my console, for example. Oh, sorry. Keep in mind that everything that is inside the strings, alright, is printed out. So this space right here, this little space right here, is going to be printed out in my console. And as you see, I had selected a space right there when I was trying to run the code, hence it gave me an error like so. Example. Alright, so this error was referring to I selected a space, so we can't run a space. And then after that I proceeded to changing the entire code to something that wasn't even supposed to be there. For example, I did this. Jimmy is my name, which is here. If you do see that Jimmy, okay, so to rectify that mistake, I'm going to run this code again, right? So now let me build it, right? Then you can see this. Okay, now let me redo that. I built it, it didn't give me an error. Now I'm going to run that code. So it's going to say Jimmy, and Jimmy has a little space with it right here, as you see that, and it's my name has a little space in the very beginning. Okay, this is how I was supposed to run the code, but I was too focused on something else. I forget a lot of time. I forget to explain the simple stuff. Because it's way harder to explain them than explaining harder things. You know, well, for me actually. But yeah, that's how it works. The spaces in strings is going to be printed out always. Right. Now let's go to comments. Okay, now let's come to variable initializations. Okay, now when you're initializing variables, make sure that you don't start with numbers. For instance, let's say I want to have a name. This is the correct way of initializing something. You don't start with numbers. You did see that we had an error when we started a number with the number, which said it's an unqualified ID. We don't start with operators, maybe a plus, alright, or maybe again a minus. Alright, so names, you just write something like this. If your name has a lot of variables, for instance, let's say my name. Now when you write my name like this, it's going to return an error again because you have a space in between right here. Alright, so the best thing that you can do is to initialize like this, my underscore name, or you use camel case, which is my capital letter N name. Alright, so this is how you are going to initialize your things. Or maybe you want a my name too, right? You want to say to my name, because this is going to be wrong, but instead you can say my name too. Numbers are supposed to appear after your strings or your letters and not at the very beginning of your initializations, right? Then again, you can't use operators in between your initializations because it's going to give you an error. Let's see, a division sign, it's going to give me an error. A multiplication sign is going to give me an error. And a minus sign is going to give me an error. And you can't find a dash on your keyboard, so it's going to be nearly impossible to have a dash. So it's best to practice my name, initialize it with an underscore, or you do camel case, or you do this, where you have a number at the very end of your statements. I mean, your initializer, right? So, the data types that we have in C++, for instance, this is a string, okay? Now, strings work with double quotation marks, right? For instance, my name, let's say I say my name, and then I say 15. Then the conversion, no valuable conversion from int to string. So this one is an integer and I'm placing it in a string, so it's going to give me an error. Or maybe let's say that I put it in a single quotation mark, right? Then you can't convert int to string again, so this is wrong. So we use this one, double quotation marks. Okay, then the second thing that we have an int, which is an integer, and integers only take numbers. And if you want to make things interesting, you can say unsigned int, and unsigned just clearly states that this number cannot be negative. It starts from 0 going upwards. Okay, so unsigned int age, and age, you don't put any number in strings, right? Maybe my age. Yo. Then that's that. Then the third one, we have a character which is denoted by char, right? And characters are denoted, or they are placed in one string notations. Let's see, character initial, initials, which I'm going to denote in single quotation marks, which is V. Then the next one, we have a boolean, and it's denoted by bool. A boolean just takes two values. Maybe, let's say, is old. I'm going to say that this is true. And boolean values are not placed in any quotation marks. It works like an int, but it only takes true or false. Okay, then the last one, probably, let's see, 2, 4, 5. Okay, yeah, we have a double, and a double just takes, well, it takes a value that has decimal points. Let's say 2,59, for example. That's how doubles work. If you come to an int right here, and then you say (2), it's going to say implicit conversion from double to unsigned int. Alright. Then these are going to be the only data types that we have for the time being. Alright. But again, we have a float, which we are going to rarely use in programming. It's not used by us because it's in scientific notations and so on. So these are the 5 data types that we have, right? Strings, integers, characters, boolean values, and double values. Okay. Now, comments in general don't take up any space. They don't take up memory locations, right? So whatsoever that you write as a comment, it's not going to be read by your compiler. This is called a single line comment. And then we also have a double line comment, or I mean multi-line comment, which is denoted by these two. Now double line comments work like so. You just write whatsoever you're writing in here, and it's not going to be read by the code. This is a double line, I mean a multi-line comment. Alright. Then again, does int take whole numbers only? Yes. If you try to put a decimal point in the int, you see the error. Implicit conversion from double to int. Maybe let me remove unassigned so that you can see. See? From double to int. And double doesn't actually care about how you initialize it. As long as you know that it's a double, you're going to be fine actually. Right, now we're done with comments. Let me comment these things out so that the code doesn't read this. Alright, so now let's go to the common output, I mean the common input.
So can you please re-explain those type of comments again?
Okay, so for starters, let me remove this. This is a single line comment. This is a single line comment, and single line comments are denoted by double forward slashes. So whenever you're denoting a single line comment, at the very beginning you have to have two double slashes so that the code doesn't read, or the compiler doesn't read whatsoever that you're writing here. Right. And then we also have a multi-line comment, which is denoted by a forward slash and an asterisk, in which on my side it auto closes. This one allows you to go down anywhere, and then, well, let me just show you the flexibility. As a single line comment, it's like this. When you press enter, it's not going to take whatsoever after line number 12 as a comment. Right, after line number 12, everything after the comment is going to be read as a code. Right, now here in line number 14 we have a multi-line comment opening, and in line number 17 we have a multi-line ending. So in between these two you can place literally anything, and it's going to be a comment. Now comments are actually useful if you're writing a code, because sometimes, for me for example, I've written a code 2 years back. I don't know how it works because I never left comments, so I had to rebuild whatsoever website that I was working on from scratch so that I understand how those things work. So yeah, please leave comments on your code, guys, for future sakes. Okay, now let's go to the common input. Now this is a common input. Alright, so a common input just prompts the user to input whatsoever that you want them to input. Let's say for example I want you to put in your age. Let me not initialize the age here. Right, let's say I want you to put in your age in my code. Alright, I'm going to prompt you to input my age like this, but a cin is always followed by, is always preceded by a cout, so that you know what is going to happen input. Okay, so again, I forgot to mention this. Right. So when you're working with the C-ins and the C-outs, you use the less than signs. I mean, these are greater than signs, and also the less than signs. Right. When working with C-ins, the C-in works with the greater than sign. C-in has to be greater than your initialization. Okay. And your C-out has to be always less than your initialization. Okay, this is how it works. Whenever you see in something, you use the double greater than signs. Whenever you see out something, you need to use double less than signs. Okay, so a C in is always preceded by the C out. Before you write the C in, you should have a C out, right? This is how it works. So now we have a C out of age. Let's run the code again. By age 22, then it's going to have 22 right here, as you see, right? Now let's try to input age and age, and it's going to just output 0 because an age is not a number, it's just a string. So anything that is a string that is going to an input, an integer as an input, it's going to just give you random numbers if not 0. Alright, let's actually go to operators. Now in operators, we know our operators, right? We have the plus, we have the minus, we have the multiplication sign, and then we have a division, and then we have this other one. I forgot what this one is called, but it checks whether a value is divisible by something, and it checks the remainders actually. Okay, now let's write a little code that's going to add or to check if a number is divisible by another number. Okay, so let's say int num1, this is going to be our number, which is going to equal to 5. Right, now to check the remainder of this number, we're going to say, if you want to check the remainder of this number when it's divided by 2, you're going to say that the number is to be a percentage of 2. Right, this is, yeah, howsoever you write it, but then you need to have a C out. Number, use of undeclared identifier, num1 actually. Okay, then we run it, we have a remainder of 1 because 2 goes here 2 times, and then there's a remainder of 1, so obviously we're going to have a remainder of 1, right? Then and also we have this other operator. This is called the assigning operator. The equal to is called the assigning operator. Then this one is called a condition operator. Double equal signs means condition operator. You check whether a value is equal to another value. If you use a value and then you use this one, and then you use this single equal to sign to check whether those values are equal, it's going to throw maybe an error at some point, right? Then another thing, we have not equal to, which just, it says it by its name, it's not equal to whatsoever that you have, right? Then we have a logical operator, which is AND. this is the end. You can use the words end, it will run, but for syntax we use double and end for end. Okay, then we have or, which is denoted by these two lines right here. Maybe this condition or this condition, well, either this condition or this condition is true. One of the two has to be true, right? And here both of the conditions have to be true with double end. Okay, so these two just negate. Here it's both of them, and then here it's one of them. Okay, let's make an example with the if statements. You know how if statements work from what do you call it, from the theory part, from those control statements, right? Where if something, let's see, what did I say age was? Age is 15. If age is 15, and again we use double equal signs to make sure that we are saying that this thing should be strictly equal to this one. We're not assigning age to something, we're just checking if age is equal to something. Let's say if age is equal to 15, right? You're going to return a statement, just a random statement actually. You're going to return this random statement if age is strictly equal to 15. Okay, and it's going to run because yeah, we have age as 15, right? Now if age equal to 14, 14 plus 4, if age equal to 14, then it's going to see out this. Okay, but because age is not equal to 14, it's not going to see out anything. Obviously nothing is going to return on or in our console, right? That's how that's how this one works, right? Now let's move to not equal to. If age is not equal to 14, we are going to say the statement, and obviously age is not equal to 14, so the statement is going to come back. It's going to be outed or displayed in our console. Then if age let's actually modify this one, age equal to 14, then nothing is going to be prompted out in our console, as you see, right? Okay, now let's go to this other thing right here, the double end operator. The double end operator, what can I say? Okay, let's say string, a string of car, which is equal to, now let's say a boolean. Actually, this is easier to work with. A boolean of is citizen which is false. Right, now let's say if age is not 14 and this person is not a citizen, you are going to you are going to have this statement right here. Then that's 14. If it's not 14, let's move it to 15 for argument's sake. Then this one is going to print out statement because our citizen, our Boolean citizen, is false. right? And if our citizen boolean is false and our age is 14, I mean it's not 14, we're going to get the statement. Okay, now if our citizen statement is true, in another way, it's not going to see out anything because this is not equal to this, right? The initialization said the citizen, the person is not a citizen, and here in our if statement the person is a citizen. Then we have our or statement, which is an or, né? It's going to print out this statement if our age is not equal to 14 or our citizen is equal to true. Okay, so true, let's see, unqualified ID before true. Okay, that makes sense. See out statement, it's see out does not name a type. See out statement, what's up. This is the beauty of coding right here. You are going to get an error and then nothing is going to show up in your error consoles because this is actually true. I mean, it's right. Yeah, there it is actually. So this one is going to be true because age is not equal to 14, it's equal to 15 from up there, right? See, age is equal to 15, int age equal to 15 right here, right? It's not 14. So one condition is true, so it's going to print out the statement. If both conditions are false, it's not going to give us anything. But if one condition is true, it's going to give us our statement, right? That's that. Okay, so I think I went through, I'm not going to go through the plus, the minus, or maybe for the sake of others, let me go through them. Okay, now let's use the plus, minus, and the asterisk. Okay, let's say you have a number which you want to multiply it by another number. If you don't want to initialize those numbers, you can just put them in your cout. And keep in mind again that numbers are not placed in strings. You just place them as they are, like 5 plus 5, and that's going to be what you have, right? So 5 plus 5 is just going to give us a 10 right here. Okay, now a 5 multiplied by a 5 is going to give us a 25 right here. A 5 divided by 5 is going to give us a 1 right here, and then a 5 remainder, I mean checking the remainder of 5 divided by 5, it's going to give us 0 because there's no remainder. Which else did I miss? And the 5 minus 5 is just 0. Okay, this is it. Okay, now let's actually write a program that's going to add two numbers together. Okay, maybe add or multiply. Yeah, you're going to choose for yourself. Okay, let's initialize our int. Let me put these two into comments. Now let's initialize our integer. Let's say our first integer is num1, and then our second integer is num2. Now if you want to declare variables, it's either you declare them like this in one place, or maybe if you want, you can just declare them each in their own lines, like so. Okay, it's the same thing, just that the first one where you put your variables in the same line is more efficient. Okay, so now let's write a program that's going to prompt us to divide or do anything with two numbers. Okay, for this one we're going to say check the remainder of the operand that divide each other. Okay, so now you're going to see out, maybe just write anything random. Let's check remainders. Let's check for remainders. Then you enter your num1, then you enter your num2. Let's see, cin num1, then you enter your num2, num2. Now to perform this basic arithmetic thing, or this basic thing, you're going to see out whatsoever that you want to do. For this case, I did say we're checking the remainders, right? We're checking the remainder of num1 divided by num2. Alright, and in some instances you may want to say that, or to have an if statement that says if num2 is equal to 0, you should like break the program, and so on and so forth. Okay, end line, which I'm going to do after this. Okay, so now let's test our program. Wait, let's clear our console, then we run our program again. Okay, so now let's enter num1. Let's say 15 divided by 8. It has a remainder of 7. This is our remainder. Why? 8 8 plus 8, I think that's 16, and we have a remainder of 7 here on this 8, because 16 minus 1 is 7. So yeah, that's how remainders work. And then let's do multiplication. Num1 multiplied by num2. Let's enter our num1 5, our num2 2, then it's going to be 10. Right, now let me do that control statement, that if or else statement, when you want to divide two numbers. Right, now if num2, because you're dividing by num2, is equal to 0, we shall see out can't divide by that number. How do you spell divide? Yeah, you know how to spell it. Divide. I'm going with this one. Can't divide by num2. Else we're going to say num1 actually divide by num2. Then this is going to be validated, right? Let's clear our console again. Then we run this. Let's check for numbers. Let's say 5 divided by 0. You can't divide by 0. Okay, you literally can't divide by 0. So now let's try another one. Let's say 5 divide by 3, in which 3 goes 1 here for some reason. Yeah, so this is how you validate inputs using the equal to, and when making basic operating or arithmetic operations, right? These whole statements right here, or these whole statements right here, they actually give us this. Okay, sometimes you need to be sometimes you need to be aware of error codes. Okay, you should be able to read this console, this thing right here, the console or the terminal. You'd find that you have an error somewhere. Let's say I do this, right, and then I run it. It's going to give me errors right here, right? Now the first error is num1, which was not declared in the scope, and it's in line 42. So we go to line 42, find num1. We do see that yes, it was not declared in the scope, so you're going to declare it. And also num2 in line 42, it's not declared. So those things are very important to remember or to keep in mind. Just that in your tests, you're not going to be having your PCs, or you're not going to code on a computer, so you'll need to like reread everything that you did or that you wrote, unfortunately. Okay, let me use what do you call selection statements? All right, the if then else then, or if and else if statements. All right, what should I try to validate, or what should I write about? Let me think. Okay, I'm going to create a voting system that checks eligibility. Okay, now when you create a voting system, or when you create a code, you have to write down the requirements of your code. For example, what do you need when you are checking something? Well, you need initializers like age. You need the age of the person who's going to vote. Alright, what do you also need? a person can't vote without being a citizen or a permanent resident of that specific country. So you are going to check for citizenship, and then what else can you check? No, let's keep it here actually. All right, let's actually keep it to these two. Now, to validate these two things, or to write the selection statements for these two things, you need an if statement. Okay, if the age is this and the citizenship is this, you are allowed or not allowed to vote because of certain restrictions. Okay, so what is the minimum age of voting in our country? It's 18. And citizenship, we know that it has to be true and not false. Alright, so let's initialize our things. The first thing that we need is an integer, because age is in integers, we don't have age of decimals. Then age, I'm not going to initialize it. And then we have citizenship. That's a boolean actually. And by default, citizenship is always false. By default. Okay. Sorry about that. Now we need to check the age. We know that you're eligible to vote when age is greater or equal to 18, right? Now if age is greater or equal to 18, you are allowed to vote. And you are only allowed to vote if your citizenship is true. True. Okay, these are the two conditions that you need to vote in your country, right? Now let's come to the inputting and outputting of these things. First things first, you need to ask a person how old they are, right? Obviously. What is your age? Right. Then you make them input their age. And then again you ask them their citizenship. And last but not least, you need to validate that the citizenship is true. Okay, I mean it's true actually, but let me initialize this one to false. I'll explain to you why. Let me initialize the boolean to false. I'll explain why it's here. Okay, now if the citizenship is true, comparison between pointer and boolean. Oh, if citizenship is true, or because sometimes you'd find that others are writing in small letters, some others are capitalizing. You need to do this, right? But then again, you'd see that I'm comparing a pointer and an integer, which is a boolean, and a character, a constant character, right? So right after this, are you a citizen, you have to initialize something that's going to work with citizenship. Is citizen, okay, string of is citizen. Okay, so yesterday when I was recording, the video ended when I was initializing this part right here, right? So I was stating that you need to check if a person is a citizen. You need to declare is citizen right here, but I'd actually say that you should do it where other initializers are at. Okay? Then after that, you are going to say that if is citizen, because it's a string, is citizen is a string, and this string has to be strictly equal to yes. Okay, if is citizen is yes, you're going to turn citizenship of false to true. Yeah. Now when you come down here, you have that statement that I gave you. If age is greater or equal to 18 and the person is a citizen, okay, maybe let me say citizenship here is actually true. Yeah. It's going to say that you are eligible to vote. Yeah. Now, again, back to the statement, you are only allowed to vote when you are greater or equal to 18. But if your age is less than 18, if your age is less than 18, you are going to get that you are too young to vote, even though you are a citizen, right? And then the last part is that if your age is greater or equal to 18, but you are not a citizen, citizenship is equal to false, it'll give you that you are not allowed to vote. And else, which means that you are less than 18 of age and you are not a citizen, it's going to give you that you can't vote in this state. Right, now let me add the end lines. Okay, so now let's build this program, then let's run it. Now what is my age? I'm 22. Wait. Okay, what is my age? I'm 22. Am I a South African citizen? Yes, I am a South African citizen. Then it's going to say that I'm eligible to vote. But let's run this program again. Let's check the second value. I'm less than 18 years of age. Maybe I'm 17, right? My age is 17. Am I a citizen? Yes, I am a citizen. Then I'm too young to vote, right? Then let's run this program again. I am greater than 18 years. Let's say again 22. Oh my word. Okay, let's say again I'm 22. Yeah. Am I a South African citizen? No, I'm not a South African citizen. Then I'm not allowed to vote, right? Then the last part is when I am less than 18 years of age and I am not a citizen, it's going to say that I can't vote in this state. This is how this works. All right. Yeah, that's how that works. All right. But then again, you saw that in the beginning I didn't have the true false. No. Why didn't I have that? Okay, for starters, you did say that my citizenship is false. By default, citizenship is false. No. And then down here in the if statements, I say in the if statement actually, I say that if citizenship is yes, if the string of citizenship is yes, you're going to convert citizenship from false to true. So this one here is true. So I can remove true, right? Because citizenship went from false to true, then that means that citizenship, of course, it's going to be true. If my age is greater or equal to 18, and citizenship here, in this case, because it's true, I'm not going to say that it should be strictly equal to. Alright. It's the same as if I say that, did you eat? Right. You may answer me yes, or you may answer me no. But if you don't answer, then let's assume that yes, you did it. Right. If you don't answer, let's assume that yes, you didn't eat. But then what did I do here? Okay, but then if you answer me no, the default parameter is going to switch from yes to a no, right? That's obvious. So it's the same thing here, because citizenship started as false, our default, right? Here it's yes, so it's the opposite, but it's still the same thing. Then it got converted to true, in which our true statement here is no. Alright, so when you come back, down to these statements, citizenship was converted from false to true. So this true statement is going to be stored in the citizenship. So we won't have to strictly check if it's true or false. Same applies here, right? You can just leave it like that. If age is less than 18 and this person is a citizen, then they are too young to vote. And then we come to this last one. All right, we're going to use this operator. What's that operator? Okay, I don't have it there, which is the not. You may have seen that yesterday I did. You may have seen that I did this, right? Oh no, that's wrong. Oh yeah, it is right. Not equal to. Okay, you may have seen that I did the not equal to. Now this is called a not operator. It negates something, the statement of something. If something is true and then you say not that statement, then you're just saying that that statement is false. Alright, so let me just write that down. Now let's say our statement is true right here. If I come here and say not statement, it's going to be false, because the statement is true. Well, because this statement is true, right? Then not of this, the negation of statement is going to be false right here. Because citizenship is true, we are going to say that we are negating the citizenship of true to false. Our code is going to run the same way. Alright, observe, let's build it. After building, we are going to run it. But let me clear this. Okay, now my age is 22, and yes, I'm a South African citizen, and then it's going to say I'm eligible to vote. That's how this works, right? So